You can't see me?
I can see you. Here we are. We can see each other because it's episode 71 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, where we see each other and say words in an effort to grow, scale, and build our junk removal dreams. As always, I'm Andy Weins, joining you from the great state of Wisconsin. We are only 5 weeks away from the Green Bay football Packers kicking off their season, kicking ass, taking names. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Casey Bubba Lawrence, from the Big D, Dallas, Texas. Casey, how you doing today?
Pretty good, Andy. I'm pretty good. Yeah.
So-
We are enjoying another sweep in the Major League Baseball series, Texas Rangers. If you haven't heard of them, look them up.
No big
They're
deal.
pretty much doing good.
They're pretty much doing good.
Yeah. I'm actually in the great city of Roanoke on the side of the road doing this podcast because I couldn't make a home in town. So I had to improvise.
Aren't you? I've been to Roanoke. I've been to Roanoke.
Yeah. I'm actually. Yeah, I'm on the same street we ate at the Mexican joint and the barbecue joint.
Oh yeah. I remember that joint. So last week it was you and I. This week it's you and I. We're in the end of the dog days of summer. I was talking to Taylor, our producer, earlier today. Apparently, dog days of summer are July 3rd through the 11th of August. We're recording this on the 7th of August. It'll come hot and fresh to you. I don't know, 3 weeks from now, probably mid to late August. Yeah, because episode 68 came out today on August 7th. Carry the one will be end of August. All right. And
for those of us that don't know what the hell you're talking about, what is the dog day of summer?
I don't know the dog. You never heard of the song, the dog day?
I've heard the song, Mark. Absolutely. But
it's like the hot shitty side of summer. I believe that's how I know. I'm gonna Google it. I've always
in Texas. It's like late October is when the heat finally settles down.
Yeah, it's here are the Farmer's Almanac. The dog days are the 40 days beginning July 3rd and ending August 11th. They're hot, sultry days of summer. They were historically a period of hierarchical, I don't know, HELIACAL, rising of star system, Cyrus. Jesus, I can't. They keep using Helleniscal, whatever. Hot days of summer. That's it. They're coming up to the end. The dog days are over. That's what I do know. The other thing I know is found out this morning another. I didn't even tell you this in our pre-show. Which pre-show means like, hey, is your audio good? Yeah, good. Found out this morning another franchisee from our former company that we were associated with, J-Dog Junk Removal Hauling. Another one bites the dust down there, Tampa, Florida, closing down. So here, actually, in the other thing we did talk about briefly is the Facebook groups, right? Because we get a lot of our information off the Facebook. That's how we kind of figure out what's going on in the industry. And there was a post last week or the week before that was like people saying, hey, it's not an oversaturated market. It is an oversaturated market, and kind of a piss and match there. I still see people going out of business. And then in the flip side, I pulled up the Facebook, and the top in this one group, top person said, I'm thinking about quitting my main job and focusing on my business. I'm getting jobs now and then, but main job is a real hustle. I'm tired of what I do. What do y'all think? Also, I got a message last week from somebody here in Wisconsin who's been listening to the podcast, and he's quit his main job and jumped into junk removal. So these are all indicators, right? You got some franchisees closing down. You got some people selling trucks. You got some people complaining that it's oversaturated market. On the flip side, you got people that are jumping into the business, and you got gurus that are selling you on the junk removal dream. And so that's it. Also, I'm sick of these posts about how do I price these jobs.
Oh man, those are great. What are you talking about?
It's real simple. Figure out your pricing. That's kind of always been it. Anyways.
Yeah, for me, it's more like if you trust me enough to give you pricing for your own business, then you should trust me enough to run it. And in that case, I'd like to get a little piece of the action. I'm going to be showing and telling you how to do your business. Here's the big thing, right? I've called you before. You've called me before. There's been a job or an instance come up. Hey, quick question. What do you think about this? Like, I'm pretty confident. I just want I want a second set of eyes that could look at this different. That's a little That's not the same.
Yeah.
Also,
And also you and I had similar pricing models, so it was more or less like, hey, am
yeah,
I seeing this right? Not where do I start?
yes,
There's a
and
huge difference there,
yeah, and when you send a picture and you put on the line on the Facebook on the line,
on the internet.
you're like, hey, how should I charge? Well, I get it. You may have just started. The problem is there's two very basic answers to this. One is figure it out yourself, and you may have longevity in your business. Or two, I'll tell you what I price, and all it's going to do is confuse the hell out of you.
Yep.
And the next time you have something come up like a lamp on the side of the road, you're going to do the same damn thing. Oh, hey, how much should I price for this lamp?
It's
You're not going to learn
that.
shit.
Yeah, correct. It's what's more interesting is, hey, how should I price all my jobs? Right. If this is that teach a man to fish, give a man a fish kind of shit. Right. Like,
Yes.
I have almost always gone by cubic yardage. Cubic yardage and resident, when it comes to residential houses, it works out. I understand that some things are going to take longer than others. I understand that if you have it in the alley, on your driveway, in a garage, it's going to be faster than in your basement. However, I also want to make it convenient for my guys and for our customers where our pricing is straightforward. We did have that episode we talked about whether or not we would put our pricing online, and we haven't done
We both
that.
had different answers.
Yeah. You know what?
You
I
know?
was for it. The president of our company was against it. I'm gonna see if we actually did it. I'm almost positive we didn't do it. Oh, here, hold on. Normal pricing. We have to. We do have a tab.
Well, and not to confuse everybody, but
yeah,
do what best works for your business. And what I mean by that is try it. Try it both ways. Test it out.
yeah.
You can either say, "Hey, I'm not gonna put pricing out there," and see what happens. Maybe
Yeah.
try it or test it with prices. The other thing is, it's funny. Who was I talking to? So I just signed on a new client, a local junk removal company. They're a startup, which is great. They actually have some money behind them too, so it makes things a little easier, obviously, when you have a little money to start with. One thing I was talking to them about was the standard. I actually posted this on the Facebook pages. Your standard equipment in a truck, and I put a list out there. I was like, this is every day what my truck had in it, and I left out like the power tools and recip saw, and I had a guy was like, yeah, man, you need to have all this other shit. I'm like, well, we had it all, but it doesn't make sense to always carry it in the truck. For instance, I didn't need a leaf blower for every single job. I didn't need it in my truck. We had a backpack steel leaf blower. I'm not gonna have it rolling around the back of the truck getting banged up all day if we only need it once a day. Some of those porter jobs we had, blowing off sidewalks, leaves, and shit like that. But also, the recip saw, the drill, all that shit, we made them sign out in the morning.
Yep.
On the other hand, there's things we didn't really need as much that you may probably, like furniture dollies, for instance. We didn't use furniture dollies much at all. We actually left those at the shop because we didn't like using them. We didn't have to move furniture as much in that manner, if that makes sense. We could carry it out of the house into the trailer, it's gone. But I know you for a while were actually doing moving, but then you kept your trucks. So I don't know if that's part of your process. You had furniture dollies or not. I mean, we had the two-wheelers. That was about it.
Yeah, we always keep furniture dollies because we have basements, and
that's true.
That's one of the right appliances come out of the basement. They're a pain in the ass when you carry them versus putting them on a dolly. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. That's the reason we have the dollies. It's mostly for basements and or stairs. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
So does that affect your pricing having basements?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how much it's going to affect our pricing. Yeah, certainly it affects our
labor.
Our labor. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not moving the needle that much on the pricing.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to what you guys were doing, you and I were running the same pricing for a while there and had very, very similar businesses. That's it. So I may have another little bit on labor. I mean, the nice thing about basements is when you're doing a whole house clean out, people tend to keep things in their basement. I mean, it's a place for jobbers for jobs to get bigger. That's it.
Yeah, and I would say the attic. Y'all don't have many attics, do you? Or do you?
No, we get attics. Yeah, no, we always we have. We have attics. The difference is you can only fit so much in an attic. A lot of us,
Right.
their basement is part of their house. Like they have
Yeah.
another rec room or living room down there, potentially a bedroom or a kid's room or activity room. So basements are a additional place for things to gather. Like when I've been down south
Yeah.
and I go to like a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house, that's it.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe they have a dining room and a living room and a kitchen. Often there's not a
Yeah, they'll have an
second
attic
gathering.
and a shed usually
Correct. But what I'm saying is there's not a second gathering space for a second set of furniture.
in the house.
With us,
Yeah.
almost everybody I know growing up, you had another, even if you had an unfinished basement. I remember my buddy Al, his basement was the old living room couches, a shitty TV on a TV stand, right? It was all the old living room furniture stuff, basically, and Super Nintendo. And that was like concrete floor. There might have been a rug. And we spent all our time down there. Like we didn't give a shit about windows or
That makes sense.
decor, drywall.
I guess if the attic was more accessible. So a lot of these bigger houses now have walk-in attics, right?
Yeah. Your
It's
second floor, and you walk, like over the garage or
yeah,
some
you just
shit.
open a door, boom.
Yeah,
There's some conversions. The problem is it's Texas, so when it's
hot.
107 outside, it's about almost 200 degrees in your attic.
F that noise.
If we have to do a full like attic clean out, we will charge a little different because of the inconvenience it involves and the amount of time we actually have to take breaks because of the heat up there. Where my
Yeah.
guys will have to take a break if they're up there all day, if they're doing a full attic clean out or something. So when it comes to pricing, you just got to price what fits your business model and your job. And if you don't know that,
Mm-hmm.
I told this to people down here: get 5 competitors, get their prices, and average it out. And where do you want to be? Do you want to be lower or higher? Test it out, because the other thing is you didn't do that I did. I actually raised my prices yearly,
Yeah.
and
No, I didn't do that.
I did it because we had to keep up with our with the Joneses, I guess you could say. Our disposal, I mean, everything revolves around the price of oil, right? Tires, you name it.
Yeah.
So we had to keep up with that. That's another difference is you didn't change your prices when we did, but at the
No.
same time, it may not have been a big necessity for you.
No. What's interesting is we got a letter in the mail today saying Waste Management's upping their disposal fee in September of 2023. So that's 4 weeks from now. Now I don't know how
That's
much
a
that's
bare
going
minimum
to.
then.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to. Um, we'll see. And again, I don't. I'm less interested in. I mean, I guess how do I say this? When it comes to pricing your jobs, it's not a question of what do your competitors charge, right? That's a indicator. You also have to look at what are your costs. Typically, I like to take variable cost times 3. So let's say it costs you $250 to do a job. It's $200 in whatever. Let's call it $150 in labor, $50 in fuel, vehicle, um, expenses total, and another $50 in disposal. Make it simple, hillbilly math, right? Then your full trailer should be $750, 3 times variable expense, right? And you think, okay, $150 in labor. What does that buy you? Well, if you got a $15 an hour employee, again, basic hillbilly math, gives you 10 hours of labor. Okay, 2
Mm-hmm.
guys, 5 hours. Can they do a full trailer from the time they punch in till the truck is ready to get deployed again? Is it under 5 hours? It's like, well, yeah, it is. And so then that's how you can start with your business, figuring out what your pricing is. Now, I would also argue that it should be 4 hours round trip for 2 guys, and you pay them $200 or closer to $20. Maybe one guy's at 15, one guy's at 20, so it averages out to 17 and a half. So it really ends up being 8 hours of 8.5 hours of labor, right? And now you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, and then you go from there. That's a model, right? You say what is it worth, right? Your competitors will tell you that price because you know where they're at. What is your cost? And then ultimately you got to throw it back into the market and see what are your customers willing to pay. So I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and they're like, well, why are you like, why would someone, not you, me in particular, but like, why would someone spend more money for one junk removal company or the other? And I said, well, it's real simple. If you hire the guy off Craigslist and he damages your walls, sorry about you, right? Like, you
Yeah.
can't, there's no one to sue. There's no insurance. Best case scenario, he leaves and doesn't charge you and says, hey, sorry about you. And this same person had their bathroom done and the guy did like, I don't know, 80-85% of the work. They did not have a permit pulled to do the bathroom. And I remember I was there after the guy started the bathroom and he did the drywall. He never finished the drywall. And there was like gaps and holes in the drywall. He's like, oh, because I'm putting shiplap over it. So that's, decorative wood. Well, it's like, well, fire code says you have to finish the drywall. You don't have to make it pretty, but you can't have gaps because air gaps, that's where the fire is going to travel. And I made that mention to this person, and they made a mention to the general contractor guy who's not even general contractor. He's a carpenter with a pickup truck. And the guy got shitty with me. And it's like, well, you get what you pay for. So it's like, if you're willing to go the cheapest route, the guys might not be licensed or insured or bonded. We talked about bonding on a previous episode. They might be not uniformed. They might not actually belong to that company. They could be random people off the road. And if something goes wrong, there's no recourse. It's like there's a market for that. If you're getting stuff picked up in your alley or you're in your driveway, hey, you don't need that person.
Well, and that's why it's very difficult to have conversations with those that are. So let's put it this way: there's plenty of people out there. They're like, yeah, I'm owner operator. It's just me, and sometimes I get help when I need it.
Yeah,
I'm the cheapest, and I'm busy all the time. Sometimes they're happy with that.
Yeah.
And talking to them about processes that are directly related to scaling. It's not that it doesn't work for them. It doesn't compute. No offense. They don't understand it because that's not what they're trying to do. They're not looking at growing or scaling. So they may think what they're saying is hey, this is the end all be all. And it's very difficult, obviously, to have conversations where both sides are completely biased. But as far as scaling and growing, your prices, honestly, to me, dude, it's not that big of a deal. Like, start somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Because the market's going to tell you everything you need to know. At the same time, if you're doing things, in my opinion, if you're doing things correctly, you should be increasing your pricing every year that the economy goes up. Especially if your disposal goes up. I don't care who you are. If the landfill sends you a letter, says, hey, we're raising our prices, on this date. Guess what you're doing on that date as well? Raising your prices. The only reason why is because now it directly affects your bottom line.
Yeah.
If it didn't, if it was like the local diner, okay, that doesn't directly involve your bottom line.
Nope.
But so for us, when we stopped going to landfill, we didn't stop throwing shit away. We just got more responsible in doing so. Yep. So we still did a price raise because we had to keep up with our overhead, our incurring costs. But also, that's a way for you to increase your profit without completely changing your business model. A lot of people get a little desperate, so they want to add certain services. Oh, we're also going to do this. Okay, cool. Well, let's look at that. What if, what if you have a great slamming month on your service B that you just started? Go look at your service A. Go look at junk removal. How's that doing? Well, it's kind of slowed down. Well, no shit, because you're doing something different now. And I say this because you and I have learned a lot, and I've learned a lot from you. 9 times out of 10, when you go through a slow period of time with not enough business, it have anything to do with your pricing.
No.
And it has almost everything to do with your presence in your market.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the point where, and you remember this, I dropped an entire territory from our franchise.
Yep.
Solely based on efficiency and increasing profit. That territory, we weren't doing bad. We were actually turning a profit. But I wanted to be more efficient, and that involved my guys going less miles every day. And it worked for us. At the same time, we actually tripled that. When we let go of that one territory, we actually tripled the current 2 territories we were holding because we were now more present in our market instead of having to drive an hour to go do a job.
Yeah, that's where we're at now with our business is similar. Wherein, I've been back at it for 18 months, and we went far and wide figuring out what the ideal range is. And I've done this, more than once before, so it's not like I didn't have any clue. And that was range of types of projects and also range of how far we're willing to go and what type of equipment we want. And that's all more data points. And then you figure out what you're making money on and what you're not making money on. And then you double down. And like in your case, right, you had 3 territories, you went down to 2. And when you had 2, you double down on those from your presence. And right when you're about to say the word presence, I was thinking about the word process, because what it comes down to is consistency over time. And when you are consistent over time, to your point, presence, which is, that's the result of your process, that's when you win. That's when you get, what you're looking for as far as business growth. Sales solve most. When you have processes in place operationally and you have a sound business, then when sales come on, you're able to scale in accordance with it. Again, the challenge I've seen with what these guys, especially in Facebook, it's like they don't know how to price a single item job. They don't know how to price a half trailer job. And then they go to this big shed or warehouse clean out and they don't even know where to start pricing it, because they never had to figure out how to do it when they were small and it was only them. And so that's the opportunity. The challenge is like figure out how to be small and then grow accordingly. Like, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, fast is good. Revenue isn't always the win, right? More revenue doesn't mean more profit. And so I encourage
revenue is a shower, profits to grow it.
100%. I encourage people to push and push and push and find the line, get too big, and then find the right size. So it's not like I'm sitting here telling people, well, don't test the limits, because I don't know what your limits are. Maybe your limits are you and your buddy, or you and your kid. You're doing $125,000 a year, and you got yourself a nice little $50,000-$60,000 a year career, and you're able to take vacations off, and you could do $100,000 in junk removal in a small area. Maybe you only service 75 to 100,000 houses, and you have a high presence, and everyone knows who you are, and you go to 2 or 3 networking events a month, and you are the guy. Every time someone goes on the Facebook groups, you are the only one people recommends, and that's your business. It's a nice little business. I like that. I like that business model. Right. The challenge is when I see these the Facebook groups of the girls, they're like, let me get you to a 7-figure junk removal company. And it's like, okay, well, you can get the phone to ring for 7 figures worth of work. Doesn't mean you're going to be able to facilitate it and do it responsibly, and so that you have a profit at the end of the day. I push for the process. Process leads to profit. And if you're in still the how do I price my job mode, you got to figure that out before you say, hey, let's throw fuel on this fire.
Well, and I had a conversation with a guy who's actually very this goes right back to what you said, right? Consistency over time equals presence, whatever. Russ Burry, he's actually going to be a guest on our show next.
Yep.
When I first saw him, I thought he was an asshole, and I even told him. It is what it is, right? But I kept seeing him getting more and more involved, or at least speaking up on these groups, and I started actually understanding.
Is he an owner?
Go ahead.
Is he an owner?
Yeah. I know. He has 2 setups, and one I think in New York, and the other one in Florida.
Also, for the record, you thought I was an asshole at first too. Let's just be
vice versa. You thought I was a dick. I mean, we actually still are assholes, but we were just we had no inclination of what each other was all about. But
that's correct.
With Russ, at first I didn't think anything of it. I kept my mouth shut, whatever. Then I started seeing him kind of be more involved in the group, saying things. I said, okay, kind of sounds like he knows what he's talking about, whatever. Then we had a guest on our show, Barton, double guest, great guy. And he brought him up.
Check-in. Yep.
Yeah, and he brought him up, said, hey, this guy knows his shit, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? It's about fucking time we get this guy on the phone, because I keep seeing him more and more. Now I'm interested. Now I want to know what he's all about, because I've seen him do things that not are only attractive to this business, but attractive to me personally, like in demolition. I love demo. He's doing a demo down in Florida. So, I was like, yeah, I got to know more. So I hit him up, and, he's not an asshole. He's actually very similar to us. It's like, look, you can show the highlights on Facebook all you want.
Yeah. I've seen as soon as I clicked on him on the Facebook, I'm like, I've seen this cat.
Yeah. And when it comes down to it, he has very good points all around. It's like, look, yeah, I've done this, I've done that. And we talked about it. I remember when we hit 7 figures, it was cool for about 3 seconds. Then the 4th second came around and it was like, all right, let's get back to work. That was hard. That sucked. It wasn't like, oh, we're millionaires. to clarify, your business can make $1 million. It does not make you a million. Okay.
You're not even close to a millionaire.
What?
$1 million in sales means nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, I'd say,
and it's
whatever,
difficult.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to get to that milestone. But then when you start digging in and say, what's the most important part? What's your profit looking like at $1 million? Because if you're not making $1, that doesn't make any sense to keep going the rate you're going.
Real
we
quick,
had a good conversation.
I've been stalking his Facebook page. A+ junk removal. Shout out Russ
A+ junk removal.
This is how well we tease our next episode. That's the guy we're interviewing. Speaking of the housekeeping of the day, Jobber. I haven't mentioned Jobber yet. I love Jobber. Jobber loves me. I'm actually wearing a Jobber t-shirt today. For those of you that are watching on the internet, I have a Jobber t-shirt on. It's actually one of the softest, nicest t-shirts I have because they are all about quality. Let's put it that way. Jobber. Masters of Home Service Podcast. That's actually what the t-shirt says on the back. And they gave me a coffee mug and they let me be on their podcast. And similar to this podcast, is awesome talking to people in other industries that have a similar mindset as you, because you can learn from other industries, whether it's landscaping or cleaning, what works for them, and you might be able to adapt those into your own business. Like you were talking about how excited you were to talk to Russ and hear from him. Same thing with what I've been able to do with Jobber and the Masters of Home Service podcast. I've been able to listen to and talk to other people from other industries. And we all see that this podcast, I got hit up this last week from a guy randomly on LinkedIn who's in like financial services, and yet he listens to our podcast because he's like, oh, I learned a lot about what you guys do and how I can speak to business owners, and also some tips for me and how I approach my business. So randomness, go find information elsewhere. Also, while we're speaking of that, while we're just checking things off the box, if you want to be a guest on this show, we have a lot of, this year we're focusing more on different ideas. Certainly junk removal was the core of our business here, but hit us up, trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com. Apply to be a guest and tell us why you should be a guest. Someone recently was like, I don't have a lot of money to be a guest. I'm like, cool. It doesn't cost anything. So I didn't know we had to answer that question. So I'll let you know, it is free to be on this podcast. This is Casey and I hang out once a week and hang out and talk to people we want to talk to because it's interesting. There we go.
I will say this. I'm going to put this out there. No, you don't have to pay to be on the show. But I will say this. What's appreciated, if it's totally up to you, your swag. If you got some badass swag for your business,
I like swag. Oh, yeah.
Throw it at me. I'll wear it on the show. As long as I agree with the message. If it's like politically left, probably not going to happen.
Also, as I'm scrubbing Russ Berry, big fan of Trump. Huge fan. Love Trump.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a smart guy. But anyways, back to what we're talking about. Swag. I'll take a hat or a shirt. Absolutely.
Yeah. Meat Church. Did you have to pay for that Meat Church hat? You're not even wearing your
Meat
Church
gift.
hat. What
are you wearing it today?
What are you wearing today?
Today I'm wearing an unnamed OD green hat.
That's
an unnamed polo. Walmart. I'm actually just unnamed everything.
All right. I'm rocking my Camel Crew Junk Roll hat per usual, sporting the home team, and then my Jobber t-shirt. So there you go. That's what we're doing today. We are hanging out in our home team colors, our true affiliations versus you and your non-Meat Church hat.
No.
And also I also been looking at Facebook for the majority of this episode. Whether I was scrubbing Russ or also scrubbing the Facebook groups, because there's guys that jump out there and I'm a big fan of the guys and gals. I use guys as a gender neutral term, #2023 offend everybody. The people out there that contribute and give answers, and also give, even better than answers, is give good questions. Like, hey, if this is the problem you're facing, like, you need to answer these questions or to arrive at your own destination. But then there's also a lot of crap on the Facebooks where it's like, this isn't beneficial. I tell people every time there's a question, I direct them to the podcast. So I'm like, we've covered this. If I know the episode or I know the guest, I'll really dial in on it. It's in your best interest for those our listeners that listen every week. right? You listen to them in order because we might reference something, and we're building our depth of knowledge along the way. This isn't like, hey, these are all the things I know today, and it's and it hasn't gotten any better over the last little bit.
Well, and I think it's also important that our listeners understand we're not when we direct you to the podcast, by no means are we saying we have the answers.
Yep.
But we have a really good chance of having that discussion based on that topic you're asking about, and it leaves it up for interpretation. So the bond thing is a great example. Before I knew what a bond was, I would see companies all the time. We're fully bonded and insured. Well, that's weird because bonds don't work that way everywhere you go. You can't just carry a bond with you. You can't just be bonded all the time. Now, if you're able to get a bond, that's different. Fully insured, absolutely. So there's going to be information that is vital to junk removal. Do I think the bonding thing is for everybody? Absolutely not. But it's vital information. It doesn't hurt to know, especially when you might be doing some pretty big jobs that require you to at least get a bond. I'm actually I'm in one of the groups right now, and a question I've seen a lot: where do you find employees? No quality people. Been using groups. Is there any other tips? Help. And here's what's funny. Today, this is August 7th, right?
Yep.
Okay. Today I had I was supposed to be going to a job fair in Las Colinas with a congresswoman. She was hosting it. And it ended up just not going on our end. We ended up not going. But I was in line for an hour just trying to park into the parking garage. It was insane. It was at a convention center. It was so packed. There was representatives from every state, you name it. It was a very huge event. And I noticed that most of the people there were looking for jobs or, promotional opportunities, whatever. Seeing that made me realize, like, okay, people do want to work, but maybe they've changed their perception on what they actually are willing to do and willing to take. And especially in these days and time, it's Texas. For instance, it's 107. I posted this the other day. For 2 weeks straight, we've been in triple digits every single day. If I have an opportunity to work indoors for $1 less or $1 more, I'm going to do it. It makes sense. Right? And that's our competition. Our competition is other junk companies. It's, Target's offering benefits at $15 an hour and you're in AC and you're in a warehouse. Oh shit. Okay. Well, the benefits kill you. Or this tech company needs assistance. They're paying $25 an hour. You're going to be in an office learning how to do cool shit and code. I can't fuck with that.
Yeah.
So you have to get creative. And now it's time for us to really start challenging how we operate business, how we treat our people. Gary Vee is one of the best people to listen to when it comes to how you treat employees and how you be a good employer. And it's because he's like, invest in them. Don't pay them. Invest in them. It's not as simple as just paying them a rate.
My other question is, what are you doing to keep your current employees that are good?
Right. Yeah.
Because that's a huge piece right there. Like we haven't had employee issues since really last summer. And it's because we got through some employees that were not a good fit for our culture. And also the economy up until last, August, September was going strong. It's leveled out. If people, if you're out there still struggling getting employees, you got to look internally. It's a you problem because I can tell you they're out there. I think I saw that post or similar one. I have never found success getting people off Facebook. That, majority of our employees are temps that we do temp to hire on, or people that already know somebody within our business.
Yeah.
We've had some from Indeed or, some from veteran groups and things like that. Facebook, it's a social place. I've never had success hiring somebody off the street from Facebook. So there's my.
So what's funny is I actually have
2 cents. Yeah, there you go.
I have, but it was different. This was back in the day where you could have someone pretty much profile who you're looking for. Back before Facebook changed their algorithms.
Okay.
And I had a guy come in, and whenever I was hiring, he would draw up my hiring ads and pretty much targeted exactly who my ideal worker was. And the reason I liked Facebook because Yeah, it shows pictures of them, but it actually shows their pattern of conduct. The reason I like to say that is because there's some people out. If you go look at their Facebook or their Instagram, it'll give you a great idea of who they actually are, not who they want to be perceived as.
Yeah.
But you see these pictures and videos of them past few weeks, months, years. You're like, holy shit, I don't want him near my business or her,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's Facebook's there. It's a great resource. Hell, I used to have good luck, I guess you could say, with Indeed. Then that changed a little bit. The best was
I
just,
Yeah, I said I spent a shitload of money on Indeed. Did not work out.
yeah, just not for the money. It didn't work out.
Nope.
It wasn't worth the money. What did it for me the best, honestly, was word of mouth from current employees, and I can base their judge. Like, hey, okay, well, who do you trust to be alongside you? Who do you want to be in charge of? Oh shit, I got a buddy. He's a hard worker, and I've known him forever, and I'll vouch for him. All right, cool. I trust your judgment. Let's have him on for an interview.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Historically, our best by far employees is referrals. That's it. You
Yeah,
know, people that been referred to us, and by an employee here. The other thing is like with those people, if the employee here vouches for them and they end up
mhm.
fucking it up, like that's they handle that internally almost. You know, like you'll find out from the guy, like, oh yeah, by the way, he's not. Like, not say he's not going to call in, like, oh yeah, that guy's gone, or they
Yeah.
keep them in line. It
I
creates
actually,
a weird buffer there, and a good buffer because now you have two people's reputation on the line, so the likelihood of them not fucking up is higher.
I actually incentivize referrals for employees.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
For me, it's
we
like
pay
once they
we
hit,
pay 500.
yeah, 90 days. They had to hit 90 days.
Yep, yep.
Um, and then that referring person gets a little bonus.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that's good, at least in my opinion, is because they're not just telling all their friends. Look, if you're out there and you have a group of friends, you know off the bat who's worth the damn and who's not.
Oh yeah,
So if there's $500 online, you're gonna be like, hey, look, man,
don't
sorry,
fuck this up.
Charles, but you suck. I'm gonna go
So
with just
yeah, what we've done in the past is 250 after 30 days and 250 after 90 days, and it's for both employees.
no, I just do the referring person, not the
Yeah,
the other one. But I mean, I told him the same. I mean, it was up for everybody. Really. Hey,
yeah,
you refer someone, and if they stay 90 days, you get some money in your pocket. There was pretty much an incentive. I'll tell you this. This goes back to the hiring thing. What helped me keep people was the incentives that I offered. They never affected my bottom line. Um, it's because I got creative, right? Like reviews, for instance. We've talked about this. Reviews. If you get personalized reviews, you can get. It's like if you get a personalized review, it's $5 per personalized review per month. So
yep.
if someone's
We still do
rocking,
that.
they get yeah, and it's great incentives for them to do good. The same thing is resale. As you know, we had a back end where we did resale and auction. If
Yep.
the guys wanted to make some extra money on their days off, um, they could do resale and we give them 50%. But they can't post or meet anybody during work hours. It has to be on their days off, their time off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we always paid them cash, so it was very good incentive for them to have some walking around money in between pay periods.
Yeah.
So I just think you
No.
gotta get creative as a business owner.
Well,
Um,
so you were talking about reviews. But the other thing is like when it comes to retention of employees, is employee reviews. Sitting down monthly for
yeah,
the first 90 days and quarterly thereafter to talk about your employees' performance. When you have that conversation, not only are you putting your time and energy and investing in them, you can also show
hmm
them, hey, these are the demonstrated qualities that we're looking for in a person. And at the end of your review, like, hey, who else do you know that wants to work here? Because we want to grow. And if you want that next level job, you want to be that crew chief, you want to be that operations person, we need to be able to add more people on the trucks. We got to grow revenue and grow the business. And if you can bring somebody in that's worth a damn, then it allows me to expand the business quicker than maybe what you'd have thought. And now all of a sudden,
yeah,
people are like, "Oh shit, I in some way have control over my future. It's like, yeah, you have to put the work in though. So it's little things like that that people
Absolutely.
don't know. They don't see the value in because they only put them, they only look at the solve now, which is like, well, I need an employee now. Like, where's the best way to find it? Well, it's like, well, what have you done the last 90 days to retain the employees you have and plant the seed with those employees? Because once you say that, then now it's changing everything.
Yeah, sorry about that. I muted it. No, you're absolutely right. Now, on the other hand, a lot of people are like, hey, well, what if they steal my business? Or what if they try to do jobs after hours that is junk removal? That actually came up for us.
Yeah.
We had a couple guys that joined it was actually a pretty smart business idea from whoever started this, but it's pretty much on-call porter services. And if you have a pickup truck, you could be a part-time porter. And you just stick a magnet on your truck and you go do what they need to do.
Okay.
It's not, it's a good part-time job. It's a good side hustle. You're
Yeah.
not gonna, it doesn't replace a full income, but it's a good side hustle. The problem was it was a direct competitor for me.
Yeah.
Because now you're working for a business that's literally doing what I do. So I gave them an option. I was like, look, you can either be a full-time porter guy or you can be full-time here. Can't do both. That was my
How that
decision,
work?
but well,
Yeah.
they chose us, obviously.
All right. Well, I had that issue when I was working. I did videography. I had a videographer and I had a videography business, and he would need off during the day to go shoot his own stuff. And I'm like, well, why are you shooting it for you? Why?
I remember that.
Yeah, it pissed me off because I'm like, I don't want to compete with you. You
Yeah.
know, basically, like if he could do it as it's like, why aren't you selling? Like he didn't see the long term potential in selling for and promoting the business that we were growing together because he wanted to make that quick cash. And I can also tell you, I
Right.
closed that business. When was that? Year and a half ago now? Year and a half ago? Yeah, year and a half ago. 2 years ago almost. I closed that business, and he's still doing the exact same thing he was doing before I hired him, which was hustling from one job to the next, which is exactly what he didn't want to do. He didn't want to have to close his own jobs and his own leads. It's like, well, if you want to make more money per project and you're willing to screw some people over along the way, like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking for that short-term game. Business is a marathon. We talk about it all the time.
Well, and also, I think
not a sprint.
it's important to have someone that, look, they're not going to be as passionate about your business as you are, but if your goals are aligned and they know your mission and they believe in it, then they can support your passion.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trick, right? Finding those long-term people that they don't have to be as passionate as you, but they need to support what you're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
And so that's what I think, right?
Yeah. Just looked outside. Our trucks are pulling in. It's always a good sign. All right. What else did we not cover? I felt like we're all over the damn place here today, which is a good episode. To just be all over the place.
Well, I mean, I think it's important that we talked about all this in a scattered type situation.
Well, and again, it's like also that in business, you can have these hard and fast structured times you get shit done. You also need the time to sit back and reflect and think. And that's what, this podcast serves both ways. It gives us an opportunity to think and expand our minds. And the people that listen to it, it gives them a chance to, think and expand their minds, different than, hey, what am I doing today that has to get done today? It's like, well, what else? What other possibilities are there out there to make it happen?
Yeah. I'm pretty excited to talk to Russ next week just because he's in 2 different markets.
Yeah, there will be an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and he's at the point where he has guys in each market, but he also has guys that go with him when he goes to the different ones. So for instance, if I think he moved to Florida permanently, that's where he lives, but he still operates in New York. And I think he brought a couple guys down to Florida with him. And every now and then, if he has something pop up in either one, he'll go back and forth. And so it'll be interesting to talk to him about that. He's seeing things from 2 different angles.
That is interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Too easy. All right. Top takeaway from the day. A little short episode we put out here.
top takeaway is there's so much that factor in to being successful in this business. Um, as our listeners are finding out from just listening to our podcast. I mean, hell, we had a guest lined up and he had to postpone, right? He had to reschedule. So we had to improvise and we had to say, hey, look, let's make this still happen and let's just let's have a freestyle moment. Sometimes you have to freestyle. I do that all the time in marketing. But when it comes to pricing and here's the thing, hiring people is just like getting business, right? It's all about what you put into it. And
Yep.
that's what you're going to receive. That's how I look at it. Right. So if you're out there just trying to say, hey, I'm the cheapest, well, then on both fronts, you're going to be getting the cheapest results.
There you go. So I like that. Know what processes are best when it's defined. And we're not really processes. Know what it really is sort of buckets of business. Know when it's best to have a defined process, and know when it's best to go out and freestyle. And attracting and retaining customers and attracting and retaining employees are both times where you don't want to freestyle. Those are both opportunities where having well-defined processes work. Top of the funnel, more marketing ideas, that's where you can get creative. Or sales to do B2B2C, more creative. However, when the phone rings or when you need to go out there and retain or not need to, you always will need to retain your guys, have defined processes in place based on best practices and execute at a high level. There we go. Said all the things. Go get Jobber. It's good for you. That's all I got. Get on here, kicking ass, taking names. Again, another amazing episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. We're going to see you next week.